Today, we're going to be discussing some of my favorite woo woo or spiritual lessons out there, and I'm going to be sharing some of my personal stories to really anchor on my favorite lessons. So, let's start with the first story. I have this lamp at home, and one day the lamp doesn't light up, so I obviously assume that the light bulb needs to be changed. But before I even had the chance to buy a new light bulb, one morning as I re entered my room, I see the lamp lit up. It's as if the light bulb was never fused to begin with. And it's been months since this happened, but every now and again, I always think back to that moment when I walked into the room that morning, and to my surprise, the lamp was fully working. And this moment always reminds me of a couple of things. The first thing that I'm reminded of is that just because you can't see the results of something physically with your own eyes, let's say you're working really hard on your goals and you're trying to do all the right things, it doesn't mean that in the background, things aren't actually working out for you. Because eventually, you are going to see the results, just like my lamp being suddenly lit up. The second thing that I'm reminded of is the fact that sometimes things just work themselves out. You don't actually have to do anything to get the outcome that you want. Although I was planning to go buy a new light bulb so my lamp would work, in the end, I didn't have to. The lamp relit on its own. And sometimes you have to be able to differentiate the situations where it might actually be more beneficial for you to simply let things play out, because it's going to be more likely that you're going to get a better outcome if you leave things alone as they are. The third thing that I'm reminded of, and this concept is a little bit more woo woo compared to the other things, but it is the idea of timeline jumping, where I essentially entered a new or higher timeline signified by the lamp being fixed on its own. Because the lamp being relit on its own is symbolic of the idea that in this new timeline, things will just work out in ways that I'm not able to imagine. And it's about getting even more comfortable with the concept of there always being a third option. Although you can't really imagine how things are going to work out for you, that third option always exists, and you always need to keep that in mind. The second story that I want to share with you was about a time when I went thrifting, specifically to find an evening clutch. And I wanted this clutch to match a lot of my evening wear, so it had to be in a blue or white color palette, because I really wasn't looking for another black or silver purse. So, as I was perusing through the items, I eventually found the exact purse that I was looking for. It was just perfect. The color was perfect, the style was perfect. The fact that I found pretty much exactly what I had envisioned led me to this really interesting thought that what if in a past life or in a different timeline, I always owned this purse and now I'm finally able to re-own it in my current reality. And it also confirmed my belief in the idea that what you are seeking is seeking you too, because I don't believe that your desires are random. I do absolutely believe that what you want in life is what you were always meant to experience. So you are simply on your journey to what you want that was always meant to be yours at different points in your life. The other thing that I absolutely believe is that there is no such thing as a coincidence. From the people that you meet and the places that you visit, how can these events possibly be a coincidence? Just think about all the decisions that would have needed to line up for you to meet someone, and for all the decisions that would have needed to line up for someone else to meet you too. Even when it comes to traveling and visiting certain places around the world, just think about everything that you would have needed to experience in order to be inspired to actually make the decision to travel where you want to go. Because knowing that life is actually playing out for you intentionally and not randomly should change your perspective to realize that although right now things might not make sense, but in the future, you're going to learn the wisdom of life's intentions that you just couldn't see before. But sometimes you do need the patience to eventually benefit from your own hindsight. So, if there is something in life that you want to experience and you can't seem to brush off the feeling, chances are it's life trying to have that subtle conversation with you to let you know of all the possibilities out there that you haven't yet experienced. And just like finding the exact purse that I was looking for, especially while thrifting, you will soon realize that what you envision for yourself are things that are always within your reach. But you simply need to take the first step to start closing that gap between what you want to find. The third story that I wanted to share with you was about this strange time when I went to the mall with the main purpose of picking up my dry cleaning for a trip that I was heading out for the very next day. So I get to the mall and I realize I have a bit of time before the mall closes. So I decide to do some window shopping, and as I'm browsing around, a sales associate suddenly comes over and tells me that the store is closing in 5 minutes. In that moment, I was just so confused because I thought that I had at least an hour before the mall was going to close. close. So I start speed walking to pick up my dry cleaning, but by the time I get there, the kiosk is closed. It turns out that the mall recently changed their hours and they actually now close an hour earlier. And when I look back at this, it actually continues to remind me of a couple of things. The first thing that I'm reminded of is the fact that we always need to be rechecking our assumptions. Because sometimes it is the assumptions that we have the strongest beliefs to be right that actually may no longer be as true as they were before. And it's especially important for you to recheck your assumptions about things that you thought you could never be wrong about. Because you never know when things can suddenly change, just like the closing hours at the mall. The other thing that I'm reminded of is the fallacy of thinking you always have more time to do what absolutely needs to be done. Because when I entered the mall, I should have picked up my dry cleaning first. That was the main reason why I was there to begin with. But because I thought I had a bit more time before the mall closed, I decided to just browse around. And the reality is that we actually don't know if we'll have the time to do what we know we need to do. And that uncertainty should actually encourage us to take action with more urgency, especially when it comes to achieving the experiences that we want to have in life. The fourth story that I wanted to share with you is about a puffer jacket that I own, but didn't get to wear as much because the zipper stopped working and unfortunately the colors started to wash out. So I pretty much kept it in my coat closet for most of the year and didn't get too much use out of it. Now, over the summer this year, I did do a major closet clean out and I either gave away a lot of my items to my friends or I donated the outfits. Now, come September this year, the weather started to get cooler, and I was thinking to myself that I would have loved to wear the puffer jacket if it was in a better condition. But then I thought that perhaps I could make the jacket work and wear it on casual occasions. And of course, I could always get the zipper fixed too. So I pull the jacket out and I try it on to see if I still feel comfortable with the look of it. And to my surprise, the jacket actually looked perfectly fine. And not only that, I was actually able to get the zipper to work too. And in that moment, I honestly kept doubting whether there was anything wrong with the jacket to begin with because it literally looked brand new. And this is when the woo woo or the spiritual thought really came in because what if the reason for my jacket looking brand new on its own was because I consciously made space in my closet over the summer by giving away what I didn't need? It's as if a part of what I gave away came back to me through my good as new puffer jacket. All this to say, what we give can show up in unimaginable ways in our lives, and that there is no need to limit ourselves in terms of how we are going to reap the rewards of our generosity. Ultimately, I truly believe that life is always poetically guiding us on the path that we need to be on. And those reminders don't always need to be grandiose in the ways that they show up in our lives. Because sometimes all it can simply take is a lamp that starts to unexpectedly work again, or the perfect thrift find that you envisioned, or even the mall suddenly closing an hour earlier for you to receive life's friendly reminders.